Hey, welcome back. J.P.'s World of Wrestling. I'm your man, J.P. Now, last time I, concluded what was supposed to be the end of my Hasbro profile series. And when I say conclude, I don't mean I'm done forever with Hasbro's or profiling Hasbro. What I mean is that I was done profiling the ones that I have so far. As I acquire more, I'm going to revisit this series of videos. But there is one that I realized that I forgot to do. And that's this guy right here. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Now, I've already done a $1 Million Man video. As those of you that watched it know, I actually got a chance to interview Ted DiBiase. And there's a DVD out there with me and somebody else interviewing Ted. And I talk about how the night before we got to have dinner with him and he told wrestling stories and all this and that and everything. And it was one of the highlights of my life, because I hated this guy when I was a kid. I seriously and truly hated this guy with a passion when I was a kid, because this guy, to me, personified everything that I hated about bad guy wrestlers in the 80s. I mean, he flashed his money around, he bought everything and everyone, and, to me that just kind of personifies evil. Like the Bible says, the love of money, the root of all evil, and this guy certainly had a love of money. Now, this figure here, I like this figure a lot. This is a really good figure. I always like when Hasbro put out figures that personified a guy's wrestling style. And with this figure, you're able to do all of DiBiase's moves, and you're able to do a lot of, his action move is kind of a stomp thing. I don't use the action moves, as you well know, but this is DiBiase number 2. Now, DiBiase number 1 came in a black tuxedo, and his stance was kind of more basic. He had one hand that was kind of partially open, and then another closest, and his stance was just kind of a regular stance, and his action move was just a punch. But all of these came with the $1 Million belt, which I don't have. Wow, what else is new? But the third DiBiase, which was probably my favorite one, was the ring gear DiBiase, where he had kind of a wider stance. He looked kind of like the Jake the Snake Roberts figure as far as stance goes, and he had like the straight arm punch where you pull it back and he punches you. But that was just a Hasbro thing. But anyway, but the thing is, I did a video about this figure before, and I think what made me forget about it is I actually did another video about this figure in this series of videos, but when I looked at it, when I went back and watched it, I really didn't like it, because there were like awkward moments of silence where I just couldn't think of what to say. So I just deleted that video and then just never went back and did another one. But here I am today. I'm doing another one. This is the $1 Million Man figure. Like I said, I don't have the $1 Million belt, but maybe someday, But anyway, yeah, I hated DiBiase as a kid, but as a grown adult wrestling fan who craves the old school style wrestling, I can actually appreciate, really dastardly heels like DiBiase, because without dastardly heels and baby faces, to me, wrestling wouldn't have been very entertaining or very interesting. To me, the whole appeal was good guys versus bad guys, which is what Ted DiBiase was. Always a bad guy. And his famous phrase is, everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man. And most people did have a price for the $1 Million Man. I remember one of the most memorable things is when he bought Sapphire and stole her away from Dusty Rhodes. That was sort of Dusty Rhodes' sort of, final curtain in the WWF in the early 90s. And yeah, so he bought Sapphire away from Dusty Rhodes, and we never heard from Sapphire again, because in DiBiase's mind, Dusty Rhodes was just a common man. And he couldn't waste his time associating with common men. And he was going to prove to Dusty Rhodes that money can buy anything, including a faithful companion such as Sapphire, which in this case, it did. Nevertheless, Ted DiBiase, the $1 million man. So tell me, what are your memories of the $1 million man? Leave them in the comments below, and that's going to conclude this video. And if you're new here, go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.